both experienced and inexperienced restaurant managers look at table visits, aka table touches, like the plague, something to avoid. This inevitably leads to them not being very good at executing them in a way that does not sound wooden, awkward, and rehearsed. Sure, there are some managers that are both really good at executing table visits, and there's even some that really enjoy it. But those are the exception, not the rule. Owners and multi-unit managers understand the importance of table visits, but they often struggle to shape that importance into a method for managers to make this part of their daily routine. So how do you get your managers to buy into the importance of table visits? And how do you help them develop this skill set to be both an asset to you and the business in the future? I'm Matt Roberts of Restaurant Ninjas, and today I'm going to give you my method of getting managers bought into table touches and how I teach them to execute them consistently and effectively. How's everyone doing today? If it's your first time here, this is Restaurant Ninjas. It's a channel dedicated to restaurant management, just management leadership in general. If that sounds like it's your jam, go ahead and hit subscribe and then come back every week when I put up a new video for you. Today we're talking about table touches, and we're going to start off by talking about what exactly I mean when I say table touch. So when I'm talking about a table touch in this context, I don't mean a server checking back with a diner to make sure their meal's okay. You know, when you go back after a couple of minutes, it's like, hey, how is everything so far? Is that steak cooked the way you want? Sure, that's a table touch, but it's not what I'm talking about. This context, we're solely talking about managers. The first problem that you have is that a lot of managers don't buy into the necessity of table touches. They look at it as an evil that's not necessarily necessary. So how do you go about getting that buy-in? Well, just like anything else, the best way to get the buy-in is to start with why. Explain to them why they are so important. I articulate by starting with, it validates the visit. By making sure you check in with every guest, you're making sure that they had a good visit, which is really just part of running a good shift. With that said, it's also a great chance to fix any issues that occurred that you might not know about, because the truth is most people aren't going to complain unless it's really bad. So do you want them leaving? No, you don't want them leaving and not coming back. You'd much rather them tell you what's wrong so you can fix it. And then that's the other reason that these are so important, is you start to build the relationships that make it so that these customers are happy to come find you whenever they need you. Because that's the ultimate goal, right? You want to become the mayor of your restaurant. You want to walk up and down the aisles of the dining room and people saying, hey Matt, how you doing? What's going on? Remember that old Olive Garden commercial? When you hear your family. That's the goal. That's really what you want. So in order to get there, it's going to take some time, and table touches are a great way to start, and that's why they're so important. If you're going to break through this barrier with managers, you're going to have to understand why they avoid table touches, and there's a few reasons for this. First of all, it's pretty awkward. Let's face it. When you walk up to a table out of nowhere and they're in the middle of a conversation and you interrupt them to ask them how their meal is, it's understandable why this seems awkward. Another reason managers avoid it is that they don't want to invite complaints, and this is a problem. We don't want a manager's mindset to be, oh man, I just don't want them to complain, I just want to get done. No, the mindset should be, I want everyone to leave happy. If I have to dig a little, so be it. So it's important that we continually coach, a complaint is a gift at all times. The third reason it's awkward for managers is that they often think people don't want to be interrupted. Guess what? This is true way more often than we think. I've had so many district managers I've worked with tell me, no, people love it when you check in with them. Wrong. Some people do love it. Some people hate it. That's why it's really important to learn how to read the room and understand that person wants to talk to me and this person doesn't. Okay, now that we've explained the why and we've talked about some of the reasons managers avoid doing table visits, let's talk about my tips to execute them well. My first tip is to get over your fear, because I know you're probably afraid. If you're watching this and you're a new manager and you're just trying to get used to it and you're trying to get some experience, the only way to get over the fear is going to be to do it, guys. I mean, I know that sounds kind of brazen, but that's just how it is. Think about avoidance therapy. I think that's what it's called, right? Where they actually, if you're afraid of something, a therapist will slowly introduce it. So like say you're afraid of snakes and they'll put you in a room with a snake, then they'll put you within a foot from a snake, then they'll make you hold the snake, and then eventually you're not afraid of snakes. Don't ever do that to me. I hate snakes. What I'm saying here is you're not going to get over your fear unless you do it. So start small, just like the snake on the other side of the room, and you'll eventually feel comfortable with this and it will no longer be a fear. My second tip is to take advantage of some of the easy parts of service that can easily be used as an icebreaker to go in and start a conversation. Things like starting off by getting your server's drink order for them. That helps the server, and it allows you to introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Matt, I'm the manager here. Carol's gonna be with you in a few minutes, but I wanted to grab your drink order so you can get started while you're looking at the menu. You just introduced yourself, you just made yourself accessible to the customer, and you help the server. So that's a great start. Another one, and this was always my favorite way to do table touches when I first started in management, pre-bussing. Again, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're getting to them after they've eaten, you're taking their plates and clearing the table, a huge part of service. You're helping your server by doing that, and you're also validating the meal. These aren't ideal, but they're great starting points. I said earlier that it is true some people really don't want to be bothered during their meal, and that's true. How do you tell? Well, here are some of my clues that nobody wants me to bother them. If I'm walking near their table and they're not making eye contact with me as I walk up, if I'm like hovering over them and they're not making eye contact, they don't want to be bothered. That doesn't mean I don't bother them, it just means I give them the quickest possible table touch. Everything okay here? Awesome. That is not my standard table touch, but if that's what they want, so be it. Other signs they don't want to be talked to, when you actually engage with them and you start talking to them, they make zero eye contact. If they're in a heavy conversation and it looks like they're animated with the person they're talking to, you know, kind of like me, I look like an air traffic controller when I talk sometimes, that means they really don't want to be interrupted, not a good time. Pre-bus, make yourself readily available, make sure you're walking by them regularly and keeping an eye on their facial expressions to make sure they don't look unhappy with their experience, and ignore them. Do not bother them at that point. Be ready, but don't bother. Now, the regular script of table visits is that the manager comes at the end of the meal and says, hey, how is everything? How's your steak? Is it cooked just how you like? Or how's your burger? Change the script. People expect it. Don't be predictable. I hate it when I'm out to eat and an inexperienced, nervous manager comes up to me at the end of the meal to say, hey, I'm Jimmy, the manager here. Just wanted to say, thanks for coming in tonight. And how's your pasta carbonara? Like, you can tell they're nervous and you can see it coming a mile away, and it makes it seem disingenuous. Instead, change that script up by not just waiting till the end of the meal to visit somebody. Greet them at the door and introduce yourself then. Introduce yourself when you're getting drink orders. Make yourself known while the food's coming out. Help the server carry it out. If you're in fast casual, help them carry the food to their table. Stand there and open the door every once in a while. All of these are really simple ways to make yourself present during the entire visit so that the table touch isn't the customer's first experience with you. Like I said, that's the standard script. Flip it. My next tip is to utilize visual icebreakers to help you have conversations with people. I use this all the time and I'd be lost without it. I look at what they're wearing, I look at what they're carrying, and I look at things like their keychains. For example, if they have a keychain that says Mercedes on it, I'm assuming they're driving a Mercedes, and I'm gonna say, hey, nice keychain, you got a Mercedes out there? And I might start a conversation about the Mercedes versus BMW debate. If they're wearing a sports team clothing, that's easy. I'm pretty up to date on what's going on in sports, and sometimes I like to trash talk even if I don't agree with it, just because it opens up a conversation and breaks down both my barriers and their barriers. In this land of pop culture, people are wearing pop culture t-shirts all the time. That really makes it easy. You got a Marvel t-shirt on, you got a Star Wars t-shirt on, I'll talk to you for hours and I'll be totally natural because we're talking about something I love at that point. My whole point being, find something you know something about that they are clearly interested in based on how they're presenting themselves and use that to your advantage to start a conversation. Which leads me to my next point. Get their name. If you can have their name, it's game over. Like, life's easy. If you remember their name and you recognize them each time they come in, the table touch just became super easy. Hey, Steve, how you doing? What's going on? And you start to build relationships with these people. You get the cheers effect. They walk in and you say, Norm! Am I the only one who remembers that? I hope not. So how do you get people's names? Well, the way I like to do it is I'm not super great with faces. I'm decent with names once I learn them, but I don't recognize that I've seen somebody twice all the time. So I wait until I naturally recognize it. If I see the same guy multiple times to the point where I recognize, oh, it's that guy again, it's time for me to get their name. And that's when, if I haven't already introduced myself, hey, I'm Matt, I noticed you're in here a lot, what's your name? Oh, cool, what do you do for a living? Again, great conversation starter. If you've been regularly doing table touches, it's even easier. Hey, I know you know my name because I've told you. What's your name, man? I see you in here all the time. I like to be able to actually greet you by name. And here's a little trick. People love the sound of their name. Hey, Pam, how are you today? Great to see you again. Oh, you brought your daughter, Julie. How's she doing? What grade are you in now, Julie? Oh my God, 3rd grade. Are you kidding me? Oh my, I have a 2nd grader. Oh, are you enjoying it so far this year? What's going on? Are you on the, You know, all this stuff is great, right? And last but not least, the scripted, most standard table touch you see, the post-visit table touch. All of what I said does not negate the need for this. Sometimes it's going to be more quiet based on what they want to say, as I mentioned earlier, and how they look, if they want to engage with you. But as a whole, you just want to make sure their meal's okay. The easiest way, hey, how was everything? Most of the time people are going to say, fine, it was fine. They don't necessarily mean that. The only time I do that is when they don't want to be bothered, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to be bothered. Now, if I don't think they have an issue with being bothered, then we're going into the full bore here. Let's say they're eating chicken marsala, okay? Go up. Hey, how we doing tonight, guys? Hey, how's that chicken marsala? It's one of my favorite dishes. I just had it the other day. My grandmother used to make it really good, but it's not nearly as good as here. Have your own routine for a lot of the different dishes, and it will make it easier for you. Don't let it sound rehearsed, but this helps a lot. It's always helped me. Last but not least, I want to address complaints. Complaints are not fun, and they do happen during table visits. In fact, they happen a lot. And like I said at the top of this video, that's a good thing. A complaint is a gift, right? Good. Now, how do we deal with that gift? Well, we solve it. A lot of you have probably heard the LAST method. It's used in a lot of different corporate restaurants. Listen, apologize, solve, thank. That works really well for the most part. However, sometimes that does not work great by itself in a table visit because it's a little bit involved, right? They want you to think quicker. So here's what I like to think of that makes it a lot more simple. I fix it +1. So whatever the problem is, that's all you gotta do, and a problem solved. It's a lot simpler. So, hey, my fries are cold. Oh no, your fries are cold, let me get you more. Okay, so I'm gonna fix it by getting a more. What's the +1? Maybe it's dessert. Maybe it's, hey, I got you extra fries, or hey, I'll come back 5 minutes later with another second fresh basket of fries. Hey, my steak's undercooked. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, let me go get you a new one. Get them, take their steak back, get it refired. Okay, that's the fix it. What's the +1? That's a dessert. Maybe it's grabbing part of their appetizer, or they're grabbing their appetizer. Maybe it's grabbing part of their meal. Don't over discount yourself, but do something to make it up to them. Usually, the best way to make it up to them, more food. People love food, especially me. So I have a question for you. What is the biggest struggle you have in your business with getting your manager to do table touches? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure I get back to you during the first month that this video is posted. Thanks for watching, and remember, it is a beautiful day to be alive.